The hood, roof edge, and front fenders are most prone to damage. Also, damage to the paintwork can be found on the inside of doors. In the places where the body sealant is applied, covered with cracks. Things are no better with chrome on the internal elements of the decor, which becomes cloudy and begins to peel off after 3-5 years of operation. There is no need to talk about thorough corrosion of the body and significant fallout of rust, since the model is still quite young. But the presence of saffron milk caps in the places of chips is a common phenomenon, so it is not worth leaving the damaged areas of the paintwork unattended for a long time. Another disadvantage is the small thickness of the metal of the outer body panels, due to which small dents may appear when people's hit. Among the external equipment of the body, the optics are the most annoying, which due to insufficient ventilation is prone to condensation. In addition, protective plastic already loses its former transparency by 50,000 kilometers and becomes overgrown with scratches. To protect the headlights from rapid again, it is recommended to apply a protective film or a special varnish on them. At the start of sales, many owners had to contact the service to replace the rear lights due to the appearance of cracks changed under warranty. Not too reliable here are the door opening angel limiters, in which the latches wear out, they stop fixing the door in an intermediate position. Buying a repair kit for all doors will cost $150. If you buy a complete limiter, you will have to pay the same amount for one part. Owners often complain about the rapid wear of the windshield, even a brush can leave scratches. The door glass is also intensively overgrown with scratches. The ailment is caused by a design flaw in the anthers. Dust is allowed through and it scratches the glass while moving up-down. The rear view camera is also prone to scratches. As a result, even after washing, look at the screen image, there is a feeling that the lens is covered with a layer of dirt. Often it's possible to get rid of this trouble by polishing the camera. Toyota RAV4 powertrains. The Toyota RAV4 powertrain line consists of 3 engines, 2 petrol 2.0, 3ZR-FE 146 horsepower, 2.5, 2AR-FE 180 horsepower, and a 2.2-liter diesel, 2AD-FTV 150 horsepower. Japanese-made motors have always been famous for their reliability and impressive resource, and these internal combustion engines are no exception. The resource of piston gasoline internal combustion engines in most cases exceeds 400,000 kilometers. In the timing drive of all engines, a metal chain is used, which can do without replacement for about 200,000 kilometers. Excessive noise at startup will signal the need to replace the chain and tensioner. There are no complaints about the reliability of attachments. Of the weak points of the stock motor, it is worth highlighting the low resource of the pump, the tendency to go and intake manifold and throttle. When contaminated, the engine starts to work unstably. Often, owners of cars with a mileage of more than 100,000 km complain about the oil burn, which progresses with increasing mileage. Oil leaks from under the filter and timing chain cover are also considered a common occurrence. Of the operational shortcomings, one can single out the excessive noise of the unit. The 2.5-liter engine 2AR-FE also have exemplary reliability. The list of problem areas includes only the VVTi timing change clutches familiar to Toyota, cracks when starting on a cold engine, and the cooling system pump. When buying a car with high mileage, it is useful to check the compression in the cylinders. It decreases over the years. Even the owners of Toyota RAV4 with a 2.5-liter engine note high fuel consumption. Diesel Toyota RAV4 was equipped with a 2.2-liter D-4D engine, 2AD-FTV. The main ailments of this internal combustion engine are a progressive oil burner, a tendency to cocking, erosion of the mating surfaces of the cylinder head block, and the unreliability of the gasket, which eventually begins to let gases into the cooling system and oil into the cylinders. There are problems with the reliability of washers under the nozzles, which are recommended to be changed every 60,000 kilometers, burnout. Untimely replacement of washers is fraught with souring of nozzles and they are damaged during dismantling. There were also problems typical for diesel engines caused by the use of domestic diesel fuel, early failure of the injection pump, fuel injectors, EUSR valve and particulate filter. Quite early, the turbine may also require attention, in which the actuator and geometry blades begin to wedge. For prevention, it is recommended to clean the sod and lubricate the part with heat-resistant compounds. Otherwise, the engine is not bad and economical, and if you follow it, it serves no less than gasoline engines. Transmission Toyota RAV4 buyers were offered a 6-speed manual, a multi-drive S K111F variator and a 6-speed classic IC automatic machine of the TM-60 family, U660F with the diesel engine and U760F with the 2.5 petrol. The manual transmission is reliable, like a Kalashnikov assault rifle, and does not cause any problems for the owners. Even a clutch kit can last over 150,000 kilometers. Things are not bad with the reliability and the classic automatic transmission. Among the shortcomings of the transmission, one can note the unreliability of the thrust bearing in the gearbox housing, the service life of which is reduced due to a weak retaining ring and strong vibrations. With an aggressive driving style, the C1-C2 clutch basket burns out early. As a result, you have to change the direct drum. The Teflon ring in the rear cover of the automatic transmission also wears out relatively quickly. There are frequent cases of automatic transmission failure due to the fault of electronics. The selector position board with the temperature sensor becomes unusable. In many ways, the service life of the machine depends on the purity and quality of the lubricant, which is recommended to be changed every 40–60,000 kilometers, since it is rapidly contaminated with wear products of the friction lining of the lock-up clutch and torque converter. With an excess of dirt in the oil, the service life of the valve body, solenoids and oil pump is significantly reduced. With proper care, the box can withstand 250–300,000 kilometers. But the reliability of the variator largely depends on the operating conditions. So, for example, in front-wheel drive Toyota RAV4, which are used in a quite urban mode, there are no problems with this transmission up to 300,000 kilometers. With aggressive operation, poor maintenance and frequent slippage, the box may begin to pester with breakdowns after the first 100,000 kilometers. Of the most common ailments, it is worth highlighting the destruction of the input shaft bearing, the stretches of the belt, and the wear of the pulleys. In addition, the variator is prone to overheating. It leads to the rapid aging of gaskets and seals. They tan and let grease through. In the cold season, abrupt starts on an unheated unit should be avoided, as this is fraught with a broken belt with subsequent costly repairs. Of the operational shortcomings of the variator, the owners know the weak dynamics of acceleration and excessive noise. All-wheel drive versions of Toyota RAV4 use an electromagnetic clutch, which, depending on the quality of the road surface, automatically divides the torque between the axles from 0/100 to 50/50. Significant breakdowns of an all-wheel drive transmission are a rather rare phenomenon even among fans of off-road rides. On a car with a mileage of more than 100,000 kilometers, there is such a nuisance as a rumble in the area of U200B. U200B, the rear differential from the system is activated, which is caused by wear on the viscose coupling bearing. If there is an ailment, the failed part should be replaced as soon as possible, since in the future it can cause the clutch to break and wear the bearing seats located in the differential housing. Another reason for the appearance of extraneous sounds is the wear of the propeller shaft grosses, require replacement closer to 150,000 kilometers. The problem areas of the drive include the tendency to leakage of the rear gearbox oil seal. Toyota RAV4 XA40 is endowed with independent suspension with McPherson strut on the front axle and multi-link with double wishbones on the rear. In the front, suspension stabilizer bushings are most often pestered, which need to be updated every 40–50,000 kilometers. Struts on good roads can last 60–80,000 kilometers. The hub studs also do not differ in reliability. The thread breaks if you overdo it with the tightening torque. The rest of the consumables of the front axle, silent blocks of the front levers, shock absorbers and wheel bearings, on average, serve 100–150,000 kilometers. Trailing arms have become a problematic place for the rear axle. Rather soft silent block are used, which break through when driving over bumps. To eliminate the lack of service, rubber bands without holes are installed, after which the car becomes stiffer. Another nuisance is the tendency of the brake-up levers to sour, which leads to difficulties in adjusting the geometry of the rear wheels. The fastening of the rear stabilizer struts also requires special attention, the ends of the nut of which are 5 cm below the lever and often suffer off-road. The resource of the rear axle consumables is 150–100,000 kilometers. The steering system uses a rack and pinion mechanism with an electric booster. The steering rack is considered the most problematic place here, in which the bushing quickly breaks and a characteristic knock appears when driving over bumps or swaying the steering wheel from side to side. Buying a new rail is a costly business, therefore, after the end of the warranty, the owners changed the sleeve. Otherwise, there are no special problems. Even consumables with careful handling can withstand at least 100,000 kilometers. Do not cause unnecessary problems and breaks. The only negative here is the short service life of the brake discs. 2 sets of pads can hardly withstand and their tendency to corrosion. The resource of pads largely depends on the driving style. The interior design of the Toyota RAV4, as well as the quality of the finishing materials, caused a lot of questions among fans of the brand, and if design is a matter of taste, then the poor quality of the finish can be very disappointing. And here the point is not so much in the use of a large amount of hard plastic, but in the poor wear resistance of materials. So, for example, noticeable signs of wear appear on the steering wheel after the first 50,000 kilometers, and with intensive use, the steering wheel is required by 120,000 kilometers. The coating on the automatic transmission handle, plastic on the thresholds, leather upholstery, rubber over, and silvery plastic inserts covered with scratches withstand about the same amount. The owners also complain about the noise of the cabin. The sources of unpleasant sounds are most often plastic parts, the driver's seat cushion, sagging, and steering wheel, the spiral contact may creak, and door windows, they rattle if they are ajar. Condensation can accumulate on the ceiling during temperature fluctuations, which if excessive, flows out from under the sun visor, mounts onto the glass and front panel. In terms of electrics and interior equipment, at the moment there are no significant problems. Among the problematic ones are the electric drive for opening the trunk lid, in which, due to insufficient heat resistance, the control element quickly becomes unusable, relevant for cars of the first years of production. In the event of a malfunction, an expressive control unit must be replaced. The regular head unit is also prone to malfunctions. The problem is solved by updating the firmware. Of the operational shortcomings, one can single out the insufficient efficiency of the stove and the climate system. In winter, the interior heats up slowly, in summer it cools. Replacing the cabin filter helps to improve the situation a little. The fourth generation of Toyota RAV4 turned out to be an ambiguous model with a high level of reliability of the main components and savings on small things. Due to the fact that the parts that help visually determine the real mileage wear out quickly, it can be difficult when choosing a car. It is useless to look for information about the mileage in the control units, as it is not stored there. If you are the owner of this car model, please describe the problems that you had to face during the operation of the car. Perhaps it is your review that will help readers of our site when choosing a car.